Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Sassy Talks. Today we have another founder in the SaaS ecosystem, a guy I met at SaaSCon this year in Bangalore, and in just a moment I realized I could hang out with this guy. And a few conversations later, here we are with Premsanth from the founder of Salegear.io. Welcome, Prem, to the podcast.
Glad, pleasure's mine. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So, Prem, as I mentioned, right, we're going to really go through your journey and talk, as we progress, we're going to talk about sales gear a lot. It's also an topic of interest for me personally, because I also belong to the same sales and marketing domain. And that's what we do as a company as well. And also, as I feel, the kind of audience that this podcast shall reach with time, I think a lot of sales and marketing folks are going to be watching this. So I think it will benefit us if we go deep dive into what Salegear does and how and what kind of problems it is solving. But let's start from probably where it all began, right? Your college days. Well, you started off as a full stack engineer. You were a developer, is what I understand from your LinkedIn, of course. Was it a conscious decision, right from college, or was it something like many people like just get a placement, maximum companies that are coming in or offering the coding job, and that's how you entered that field? Or how is the story like?
Interesting, but actually, my first job was a sales job. I was a business development
Oh,
executive. My background comes from electronics engineering. I was so fascinated with electronics. Did a lot of robotics at college, but
nice.
then ended up. I want to get into startup world and got into chance of a startup. Go Truck was a startup name. I got a job as a salesperson, and that was my first job. Then later understood a few other things that took me to engineering. Then today what I'm doing is marketing. So
Exactly.
whole different thing altogether.
Nice, nice. So when did sales gear come into your life, like, and how did that happen?
Yeah, sales gear happened much later. So talk about I did sales as I started the career as a business development executive. I was there. Then I got into an engineering role. Then I took engineering seriously, become a full stack developer. And obviously I start moving on. I did a few companies and all were engineering roles. While I was an engineer at the previous company, what happens is as an engineer, we have sprints, right? As an engineer, so you have to code. So when you are so engineering is like you need to have too much focus just to get stuff done. So you cannot see the outside world. There's a famous saying: focus is not only giving your attention to one thing; it is also not giving attention to so many other things. So what happened is when I was engineer, I didn't know what was happening in the business. As a startup, you always care about business, not just the coding part, right? So seeing business, what is happening, what happens is starts on Monday. We have 1 week sprint from Monday to Friday. I put my heads down on Monday. On Friday, I raise my head. Okay, we have done what I have to do. I've done. Now what to do? Now on the weekend, I keep thinking, what happened to business? How many users came in? What happened there? Then Monday starts again. The cycle repeats.
The same thing.
So this was happening over a period of time. Then we realized the previous company Adapt. So I was the first engineer hired there. So I was working with founders a lot. So I thought, okay, definitely I care about business a lot. But being an engineer was not able to do all of that. Then during just a few months before COVID, then we decided, hey, we have so many problems. Founders cannot focus. Hey, can you take care of business of one particular product? Like, okay, sure. What does it require? You have to go figure out everything, what customer needs, or do the market research, and see how you can sell, brand it and sell it. Like, okay, but I only know Java, I know Python, but I don't know anything else. Just go figure out. You'll figure it out. We have other bigger problems to solve. You take this piece of the puzzle. I said, okay. The first rule is you're gonna uninstall all the coding software you had, all the IDEs, IntelliJ, Visual Studio, uninstall. I uninstall everything. And the next day I didn't know what to do. I was like, just like a clean slate. What should I do now? Okay. Now I have to do research. How do I research? I just Google all day, or I should talk to customers. it was such an they trusted me so much because I was with them for a while. We helped solve a lot of engineering problems, and the problems like market research, understanding how the ICP should evolve, what features to build, why to build, prioritize, and all those request time and effort. They said that is the same thing. If I'm going to come there, I'm going to do the same. The founders told me this. Instead, I'm deploying you. You need help, just call us. But this is exactly, you have to go figure it out. It was like just running a startup, like how we do today.
Right.
Then went on. So that was a great exercise. That is the time I realized. And I was talking to a lot of folks that time because I didn't know how that is. And I was talking to different folks. And, Andrew Gazdicky is the person, MicroAcquire, founder of MicroAcquire. Is pretty famous in LinkedIn though. So I was hitting up all the LinkedIn influencers or anybody who's sold companies just to understand how it works. And they were okay to take calls with me. And I was telling, hey, I'm not going to sell. I'm just trying to understand. They've thrown me this problem. I don't know how to solve. And everybody gave it different advices. So Andrew Gazdicky is the person, he gave me this advice. He said, like, he said, keep your ears close to the ground.
Okay.
Where the customers are. Done. I said, that is the only thing he told. We are like 1 hour call. This is the only thing I take out of the call. It was like, he was just listening to me. Like, oh, he's typical founder's problem he's also facing. And so he gave me this. And then after that, what I did is, for the next 1 year from then, I had around 135 plus calls, VP of sales, VP of marketing, director of sales, director of marketing. Only these roles I was having call. I didn't have calls with anybody else. Because I was selling trying to build a product for outbound sales teams. That is the goal we had in the previous company. So, okay, then I had calls, this 135. I was trying to put them. So these were raw data. I was just logging all the raw data one after the other. Then all the data together, try to make sense of this data. And able to, this exercise was very good because I had a sheet full of data, 100,000 plus and different data points. There were like 12, 13 different data points for each one.
Wow.
And trying to I calculated into 3 or 4 different buckets and said, hey, this is a startup company. Because this was a director of sales, the company size is this, the revenue is this. I was able to classify. And hindsight sounds so simple, but it was not.
It's not.
So then I was able to 4 different buckets, and the 4 different buckets are the features. And we put what are the requirement of the features, then put a pricing for those features. And like that is how 4 different pricing plan was born.
Wow.
So we started this and we said, okay, there are 4 buckets. And as a startup, when you're starting a feature, you have thousands of features to build. Every customer you talk, they'll say a different feature. But after bucketing, it was so clear that I have to prioritize only these things. So we had first bucket go one by one. When somebody cares, hey, this is the roadmap. And it was so convincing for everybody. If somebody comes and asks, right, where at the time, like when you're not successful, you say, hey, this is the priority we have to go after, because these are it's you don't have enough data until you have data to back some decisions, right? These are not obvious logical decisions. You have to collect enough data to make decisions obvious. And if it is obvious, you can convince anybody. So I had this data that was enough for me to back up. And no matter even how hard people come and push me back on authority or power or in the industry expertise also, I was able to back it with the data. They were like, yeah. So they were like absolute clarity. Okay, he's doing it right. And that is how I got the first one that time. And we built the product, we're building. And then that is when during that time in the previous company, our ticket size of the previous. So what I was saying was the product is one side. The second side is about we were selling in the previous company. Our ticket size were around $3,000 to $7,000 ARR. That was the size. Okay. So then during the time we had one more experiment trying to do outbound, and all the leads I was talking about is only inbound. We were all most of them are engineers. And I took the research part. I'm still an engineer who took up a different role. That's all. But most of them were engineers. And we said, okay, this is a problem we want to solve. And my other co-founder, Surinder, he said, okay, I'll take this problem, outbound sales. He tried to do it. It was like 6-7 months of effort. After 7 months, he closed a 200K plus deal.
Nice.
Our average size was 3 to 7K, and he closed to 200K. But it took him 7 months. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
And that is when I realized, after talking to 135 plus sales marketing folks, what do they need? And there is so many other patterns, right, that I don't use just for product. There's so much of learnings I realized from the experience. Then there is the 200K deal. This is like a big leverage. Then I understood. Then, okay, so we have to go solve only the outbound problem, because it's highly rewarding, but it takes time. There are so many nitty-gritty details. People are not aware. It's overwhelming at the end of the day. End of the day, you want business, bottom line. But there is, how do you remove that overwhelming? So that is the source, how Salegear began. So,
awesome. Salegear is so data driven, basically. It's data backed problem solving product. So amazing. This is thank you so much for sharing it in such detail. I think this is something that, folks like me and a lot of the viewers that will be watching this really don't get insight into. Like, it's not every day that you get exposure to such solving this problem, especially given the fact that what I really appreciate is how, as an engineer, you took up this role, and not knowing anything to eventually knowing almost everything around it, around the entire space. So that's amazing. Kudos to you. So let's talk about Salegear a little bit more, right? You mentioned, right, it's to solve the outbound problem, right? What is the outbound problem?
Yeah, so outbound is the nature of selling. Sales was just outbound until HubSpot bought in the introduced term called inbound sales. Like, instead of you going to sell to customers come to your door.
Yeah.
So that is what, and that is the whole, how HubSpot was built as a whole. But generally, sales is about, you are solving a problem. Either you're trying to offer a service, or building a product to solve a problem. So end of the day, you're trying to solve a problem. You identify people who have the problem, go reach out to them, find those people, reach out to them, say, hey, I have a solution, then can solve it. Like door-to-door salesman, right?
Exactly.
Like, hey, I know your home is dirty. Take my vacuum cleaner. It'll clean everything.
Absolutely.
And so that is what the sales was. This is a typical outbound. You think there are a list of people who have problem, to which you have solution. You reach out to them and try to make a sale. Typical outbound.
Yeah.
Either showing up the door was the old school way, and now with the digital way of email, cold calling, cold emailing, cold calling, LinkedIn cold reach out. So that's why the cold word comes every time, right?
Yeah.
It's typically a cold way. And since it's digital, like how in the old school way, like, since too many people come knock your door, you build gates, you put watchmen, you have a security system on all those. And similarly, in the digital world, there are spam filters, there are call blockers, and there are reputation scores for email. So all those came into filter reaching too many people spamming you as well.
Right.
So that is the problem of outbound in real life versus digital life.
That's a great analogy. So let's talk about the important metrics, right? And I think that is how you can explain where Salegear comes into picture with respect to this. If you look at the entire funnel, the metrics that you're looking to solve for in outbound, one is deliverability, the email deliverability. Second is your open rates, right? Third is your engagement or clicks, right? And finally, you want the replies and call bookings, right? The reply rate and the call bookings that happen, right? Where does Salegear help in all of these metrics?
Okay, got it. So Salegear, we started Salegear trying to do with one thing in mind is we want to simplify outbound as a whole. So as I mentioned, there are gatekeepers, either in phone, there's a gatekeeper. We could even call it as gatekeepers, right?
Yep.
In the digital world. So, and there are, how do you penetrate through the noise and reach the audience, reach the person first? So we can write such a persuasive content to grab attention, right? Let's say, hey, I know you have a problem, this particular problem, but I have a a solution for this. Like you have a skin, I know I get insights from across internet and find you have a skin problem, for example, for instance, and I'm selling a skincare solution. I know, then if a guy send a message or email like, hey, I know you have a such problem and I have a solution for it. But the problem is so many other people also, spammers also have access to this data. So I'm genuinely trying to help you. These spammers are trying to just pull out money from you, from your wallet.
Right.
So that's why there's a robust system in place already from Google, Microsoft, and other security providers to prevent such emails from unknown people. The easiest way is you cannot classify who's the right seller or a bad seller. Simple thing is you can go only certain extent, but the spammers are intelligent enough to make it that way. So how do you break that is put a spam filter of people who don't know, can't reach out. So there are a lot of limitations. Even they identify those keywords, even some persuasive messages, they put barriers and barriers. So this is where what Salegear does is we want to help the genuine buyers reach their prospects, right? That is the whole goal of Salegear. So how do you do it is, first is all your great email content. Let's talk about email, for example, for instance. Email reaching your prospect inbox. So your open rates are usually, unless it reaches your inbox, people are likely to open. It reaches your spam or promotion. You can go to your spam, you'll see hundreds of emails which you've never opened. Also, there are some genuine senders there, and there are also the spam people, like the Nigerian prince. You'll have Nigerian prince emails as well. So, so genuine users, when they want to reach the inbox, what we do is on Salegear we use something, we call this something called email warming. What it does is we try to manipulate this Outlook and Google filters by saying, building a reputation score for your email. There's a reputation score which they have. It is an imaginary reputation score. There's no score as such, but it's an imaginary term. We all assume there's a score. And that we improve, how we improve is number of emails delivered to users' inbox from the number of, you send 1,000 emails, and let's say 70% of email add into spam and 30% this, you get attention only to 30%. You wasted 70% of the list. That is 700 plus users. It means that you didn't send them email at all. So the cost that's spent for the 700 users is lost, right? But what Salegear does is, on top of it, we help the email warming. It warms your sending email account, and so that all the 1,000 can be delivered to the inbox. So the conversion results are based on your email content, how you do it. So that is where Salegear comes in. And spammer would not buy a tool to go this far. And it becomes from when sign up for Salegear, we genuine validate before they sign up for the Salegear. So that's how it goes.
Amazing. Okay. So basically, Salegear right now helps in warming the email IDs so as to make sure that the imaginary reputation score is at par and we land in the primary inbox. And that obviously directly impacts your open rates. Right?
Yeah, directly upends your open rate. And your message is so convincing enough, you have a right CTA, people want to reply to it, people want to engage with the content, and end of the day, your bottom line of your results is this. So Salegear not only does the beginning part, the warm up, it sends you email, sends emails to prospects and follow up automatically until there's a response. So you don't waste your time with people who are still not interested, who might be interested, but once they're interested, then it gives you control till that automated. So it does a lot of things other than what I mentioned right now.
Understood. So basically, we can also create all the drips on, say, Salegear and send them out to the prospects after we start with the warming. Warming is done, and then we can do this as well. And I think I read on your website also, you also have a content generator as a feature.
Yeah, right. Obviously. So writing content is the most difficult part. So I'll tell you one more thing that we did. So the experiment I did earlier, as I mentioned, 135 VP of sales, we categorized. We reached out, and the next thing was we had goals. Like product, you have goals, right? Onboarding completed, for example, product usage, activation, for example. The definition we had for activation is anybody who comes, sign up to the system, use the system, writes an email, and sends an email. Until he sends an email, and he should get a response. So once he get a response, that is when he feels like I've done something. Like, for example, if you're on Facebook, you create a post it, then you get a like. Only then I feel like, wow, somebody's liking my post. So the users is feeling good about what he did. So that is a success criteria. So similar to us, we had email. They should come, sign up, create the email, send an email, and do it. So creating an account was so easy, and then sending the email was so easy. Creating the content, there was a huge gap. People are not creating immediately. So I'm going to enroll 1,000 of my list into a drip that has like 7 emails or 10 emails or 14 emails over a period of like 28 days or 40 days, 50 days. I'm going to put so much of my resource time into what content it should be, how much of effort. So that was a longer effort. In a 14-day trial, we offer a 14-day trial. They start the account, they do connect their email account. It happens on the first day. And next 8 days, 9 days, there is zero activity. 10th day, they say they create their 4 or 5 emails. And they spend another, they go blank.
Yep.
There's no connection at all. Then they come after a few days, come back, because creating content, it's not, the nature of the process is so much of effort has to go. So I cannot solve it a product problem and say, hey, I've achieved like 100 users came, I've all 50 at least are converted. No, 100 users came, hardly 1 or 2 actually use the product. Is it a product problem with the product, or is it the product problem with how this works in general? So it is a problem that works in general, right? In writing content. How do you solve this? Then we put in the ChatGPT, and we put in all the industry's best practices as a layer on top of ChatGPT's.
Nice.
So combining these two, people can, so rather than me writing anything from scratch, it's easy for me to optimize. Rather than me taking like 7-8 days to write a fresh content, I'll take 3 days, 4 days to optimize an existing content that has all the best practices that is relevant to me. So we put an AI sequence generator where you just sign up, click on create as soon as the first day. It gets content from your website, what you offer as a solution. And on top of it, align with all industries best practices, how much interval between 2 follow-ups and all those.
Yep.
And you have a whole structure laid on. Then you can go optimize according to what you need. So that is how we solve this side of the problem.
Interesting, very interesting. That's I think that is a great insight once again, because you build a product, you build a good product, it's working well, and then you don't see a lot of users converting, and diving deep into this problem, finding the root cause. I think this is a founder's game. I think. Do you enjoy solving these kind of problems?
Yeah, it's a rinse and repeat. It's not in one day, right? On a hindsight,
Exactly.
it's very obvious. If
Yeah.
you think all the problems, right, we mentioned, it's very obvious. Even when if you talk about Airbnb story, right, just to make sure how it fits, right? The founders
Yeah.
went to Airbnb, stayed there, found this problem solving. It all sounds very obvious and very inspiring also. But when you are in the groove of it, right, it's not very clear. It's like because you have 1,000 other priorities. On top of it, this is the problem. So it is, I think this the main thing is it's about priority. You always have resource crunch, right?
Yeah.
You don't, as startup, you don't have so many people. You want more smart people take actions before you ask them to do, but it doesn't happen.
Yep.
So it's you prioritize. Sometimes you think it can be solved in 3 days, but it can take 30 days. But just stick to the priority. The results are, it is all for greater good. Results come with time.
Yeah, of course they do. So basically, Salegear, end to end, the entire journey of Outbound is where Salegear is supporting as a product.
Right, exactly. So I would put it in different way also. If you're using a warm-up inbox for warming, using a Zoom info for data, using an outreach for email outreach, phone call, LinkedIn, all the outreach, using calendar to book meetings, using a website tracking solution, all in one place, connected to each other, can talk to each other, and at a fraction of cost.
Amazing.
That's Salegear.
That's killing the entire silos for email for Outbound specifically.
Right.
Yeah, that generally solves a lot for the productivity, right? It improves the productivity of the team. I think.
Right. So all of us are obsessed with the problem of the problem you're trying to solve is not about don't want to be competitive. It's not the problem. So they are trying to solve a problem. I'm trying to solve it. How can I simplify Outbound is the only goal all of us driving. If you want to build more products, build it. Or if you don't want to build a product, use in a different way of an UX kind of problem, you do it. But goal is, how can I simplify? So you're obsessed with problem. As a founder, you don't be obsessed with your product. The Salegear is a brand. I can rebrand it tomorrow. I'll have a totally different name. I'll not even have this company. We'll change a different company. But the problem, obsession with problem, I can never. How can I simplify outbound for people so that they can generate more businesses through outbound? So that's all. And everything else aligns in the same picture. Either it's you're getting acquired, you're acquiring somebody, you're going public, everything comes with just the obsession with the problem.
Absolutely. Well said. So one thing that I would want to ask, and like if you're open to, answering this. So you mentioned that you were, probably taking out the entire silos and, one tool for everything outbound, right?
Right.
Do you see this pattern already in all the users that you get, or is it still that you see people using a Zoom for a Polo for list creation and then coming, warming here, creation of list there, and creating emails here and sending from here? Is that happening, warming somewhere else, probably things like that?
Right. So that is definitely will happen. So it is about we are on a journey to solve. So we have solved most problem on outbound tools is what we think, right? But if you think that you have solved most of the problems, then what is the job we have next day, right?
Yeah.
So it is like it's an ever running process. How can I streamline, make it better? I've reached 1,000 users. How can I get 10,000? How can I help 10,000 more people get there? So those kind of things. But coming to your point on whether they are using a different tool than your tool, right? Those things you figure out. This is like a business. So what I said earlier was a vision of a product, what you're trying to solve, right? But you come to business, it's a kind of a different game because there are, for example, data, for example, itself. Data is finding email, phone number. There is no single unique database that anybody in the industry you can ask to. Any top sales leader who's crushed it, right? He'll say use 2 to 3 different database because nobody is perfect in anything.
Absolutely.
It's a complementing solution.
Absolutely.
But we want to be very strong in one thing. So that one, we want to be like single player. You don't have a backup there. So that is what we want to be very, very strong is we want to be very, very strong in terms of the email deliverability. That is the one single problem. So we have our friend from another company, our friend Ganesh is they're a very big company. So he's the CEO of RFP. Ganesh is a great friend and a mentor for us. He was selling a very interesting problem. So what they do is they help with RFPs. So what he gave a great advice, like when they were building the products. So just give you a context, they are like super big. They are the industry leader in RFPs, right? They have like 20 of Fortune 100 companies, like pretty top names in the industry. They're number one. So he gave us a great advice. He said when they started in the RFP space, they were focusing only on RFPs. People are doing on Google Docs. People are doing in Microsoft Word, and they were using different tools, Microsoft Excel. They were using Google Sheets, and they were using so many other different ways. But they focused only on Excel. People used Google Excel, Microsoft Excel. And they built all their features and the maturity of the features, everything on the particular use case only. And with time, what happened is, obviously with time, you expand your features and they have so many things. But they become so strong in that particular problem. That was the niche they solved. It is still so it is like you have to find the niche out of niche. RFP segment itself is a niche, they're saying. In that, find the niche. People use only Excel. That is my niche. And I'll go only target those users. So similar to that, Salegear, we're only focusing right now heavily on the email delivery. So
nice.
So that's why email warming is coming up. Our efforts are doubling down on warm up. We do a lot of intelligent rotation, a lot of things within warm up itself. It's like companies who just do warm up as a solution, right? We go deeper than that also, because that is what the problem we want to solve. Nice. Then, so as complementing features, all only focusing on delivery. So yeah,
amazing.
that is what we want to be replaced or have a backup, but everything else, data, other solutions, who want to use a different calling solution, they can integrate. We have no solution, but this one we want to be very strong. Yeah.
Amazing. I think this is a very, very good approach, building a niche in a niche, right? I think it's again a matter of, I was doing this podcast with Rohit. He mentioned a similar kind of a statement where he talked about how we should focus on our B plus and A kind of areas and maybe become A plus 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 in that, rather than focusing on the probably the C minus and trying to get them to B plus. I think it's very similar to what you are suggesting as this approach, and I think this is a great thing to learn and adapt to. Because it's a long run that you're in, right? Eventually, right? Once you become leaders or solve that niche out of that niche kind of a problem, you'll have enough name and credibility in the market. When you expand features, users will eventually follow up, right?
Right.
It's a great approach. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. You have some really good analogies and some stories to back up everything. I'm really liking this. Really appreciate this approach of yours. All
Nice.
right. Just to wrap this bit up around the sales gear and outbound bit, as you mentioned, right, you did an in-depth research by talking to 135, sales and marketing folks, right? What did you realize where, like, if outbound is failing for a company and for multiple companies, of course, everybody sees failures. What is the biggest reason that you see? Where are they lacking? Are they missing out on something really obvious? Is that a case?
Uh, okay, there are two most things they say in terms of fitting in terms of market. If outbound is failing,
Yeah.
there's two things. One is product market fit is there. This is number one. Second is message market fit.
Yeah.
Right. So product market fit, as you know, like the clear definition of product market fit, it still varies a lot. Sometimes you have 100 customers that are similar overlapping. There are people who had 10 million ARR and they're stuck. So when you're growing revenue, let's say you're having like a 2,000, 3,000 ACV customer and per customer value ACV, and you are at hitting 1 million. There's a 1 million is a typical plateau so many people face, so many companies. 0 to 1 million is very hard. From then 1 to 3 million, then you're stuck forever. You don't know what is working. It's like you run out of gas, right? And similarly, there's another barrier in 10 million. You hit 10 million, then you stop. So there's so many things. People have their own problems at different stages. So at different stages, you need obviously you need to evolve. So like this is a famous statement they say, right? As a 50 employee company, you need to be a CEO. 100 employee companies, 1,000 employee company require a different CEO. Either you upgrade or hire somebody. 10,000 employees require a different CEO, or either you can catch up the game or you are always replaced. That is the only way to go forward. So adapting is the most difficult part, but great founders, they do, because they are with ground up there. They know the entire structure. Coming back, why it doesn't work, right? Has so many problems. The approach, there are some technical problems also, tactical problems also. People were sending, I spoke to a customer, they were sending using SendGrid, for example. SendGrid is the marketing campaigning tool. They were sending about 10,000 emails, 10,000 emails every single day, and they were booking 5 meetings per month. 10,000 emails every day, and it's like a huge volume. They exhaust list, they buy new list and do, and this approach working for them. They do it. Okay, I say, hey, I can come solve this. And they say, okay, this is what you're doing, and they get their emails blocked. Their IP, SendGrid says, stop using this IP. We are not going to give you another IP. Then they have to fight emails. Sometimes they use AWS IPs, and AWS sends a spam report saying that, hey, this IP is blocked from usage from you. And a lot of those problems they get into. But they have some teams solving it continuously, and they get 6 meetings, 7 meetings every month. They're hitting the quota. But so this is a tactical problem. And other thing is product market fit, obviously, and second is message market fit itself. Right. When you're so all of us, this is a figuring out. Outbound is always a figuring out. For example, the lead that we closed was 7 months. Nobody questioned the approach that Surinder was taking to get the outbound lead. Just let it go, because we read a lot of books and insights saying outbound, they are getting so much done. But when you try, it doesn't work. It's like you give up, but you have to invest time. You invest time, right? And with little bit of guidance and commitment, you can get results. But when you taste the fruit, right, at the end of it, you will always go back to it, right?
Yeah.
You'll back it no matter. Even today, for example, the previous company was Surinder was actually CEO of the previous company as well. And we was pure inbound. We didn't know outbound until the one leader is. And when we started Salegear, it was completely outbound. All the sales we did was complete outbound. We got 20-30% inbound and 70% outbound.
Nice.
So you're eating your own dog food, right? So, and it works. And what worked mostly is for us during a journey on outbound here at Salegear is was the messaging. How do you, am I resonating with your pain? So one of my friend used to say, Boris, he's a sales consultant. He's been working with a lot of clients. He recently built a 10 million ARR for a company out of Bangalore. Nice. He built it over a period of 18 months. He built one sequence, 18 months. It runs for 18 months and gives 95% of the business of 10 million they're generating every year from just sequence. Okay, let's get into it. So he says this one. I asked him, hey, if I'm writing a email cadence, like a drip, first email, third email, seventh email, 12th email, what do we say? How can you send an 18-month? How many drips, how many emails can I add? Like, he says, okay, start, you have their own structure, how you do it. And in the email, right, he says, resonate with the user. And he says, first is pain 1, pain 2, reiterate the pain, agitate the pain, rephrase the pain, pain. It's like everything is pain. So I have to connect with you in some way that you are facing a problem that I have a solution to. You have different angles. You have write in a direct voice, do in a passive voice, use a customer, but only stick to pain. And that's the formula I've been talking. And internally, when we say we write on some content, like how do you, I say, hey, we have to improve this. They'll ask me how. I would send a 10 pain, like say pain. It should have only this. Only way I can resonate with users. Otherwise, why will somebody connect with you, right? Because it's a business time. I want to make most of my time, right? So if you resonate with users in terms of pain, I'll tell you one subject line worked for us also.
Absolutely, please. This is interesting.
Yeah. So the subject line we had is since deliverability is the most important pain we're going after. We had this is from a sequence, the sales team that Surendra was writing. He wrote this. My email landed in your inbox. Yours can too. Tell me how.
Amazing.
Tell me how. So replies are tell me how. So that is the message fit. You have to figure out your message. It's not easy.
Absolutely.
It's an iterative game. You just keep playing the game, you'll get it.
Amazing. So basically experimentation is required and it requires a bit of time to figure out that, that messaging which can then be scaled.
Right. Yeah. And obviously some knows are you obviously know it and you've been doing, right? Your growth spree been doing really well is, not too much templates, not heavy emails. Give you a quick short for 4 or 5 pointer is subject line from 2 to 5 words max. Content of the email, less than 90 words, probably 60 is best, 60 words is best. And don't put fancy signature, just put best your name or just put your name. That's enough. Links, 1 link max. No images or just have 1 image as a GIF solves. So, but end of the day, it should connect with. Sometimes people, I see this mistake. People find the best emails available from HubSpot, from that here and and it doesn't connect really well. It's a really great follow-ups, but it doesn't connect. It should connect in a way either to the pain, either to the customer journey.
Agreed.
So that's it.
Agreed. I agree with you on all these things, I think. And thank you so much again for sharing this, insight into how one should write an outbound. It's actually it's actually a simple thing, right? And you need to keep it really simple. And as you mentioned, right, it should only talk about the pain, right?
Yeah.
The only common factor that exists is they have a pain that you're solving. That's the only
Yes.
common thing, right? And that's the reason, I'm sure you must have heard of personalization is kind of, I feel, a myth that exists in when while we talk about outbound content. What are your thoughts on it?
So true. Personalization. Personalization. Is overhyped by now today. It was
Yeah,
the talk of the hour like 3 years back. Personalization, you'll solve the problem. It is a constant evolving, right? So one problem with outbound in general is if you're not evolving, you die.
yeah,
There is a template. You can see all the top templates that worked. It's in the blog. It stops working once it starts ranking in Google
yeah,
because there are so many people using. So how the spam filters work is there is a pattern. They see, they start blocking them. Then what happens? It doesn't work,
yeah,
right? So you keep optimizing, you keep figuring out new ways to do it. So personalization also, they were able to figure out personalization. You can do it right way. People, you don't say I also went to the same school you also went. Looks like that's very interesting. Do you want to buy a product? Like why? Right? Nobody wants to buy the product that way. Personalization um, uh, can get you some eyeballs,
yeah,
to a certain extent, but mostly it's a relevancy. I am in lookout for a problem. I'm looking out for a solution. Then your email pops up. Let's talk and see, right? So that is,
exactly, exactly.
and that is how it works. But on personalization, one thing that
Yeah,
worked. This is for us as well is. So he has mentioned, this is a prospect who mentioned on LinkedIn. He's talking about like a founder who works 16 hours, and not a coffee person, right? This subject line that this is the meeting that Surendra got. We're talking about it. We were talking about this. We talk a lot about this personalization. I'll try to do with what I'm doing in my emails and his emails. So his personalization thing is, he was is it no, another non-coffee founder. That was the subject line, right? And the
right.
rest of the email didn't have anything to do with the
Coffee.
coffee, or his cricket or his basketball, the fan. But
Yes, yes,
you need to get attention. You don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But relying on personalization for results is wrong.
yeah,
It's not an approach anybody wants to take. Rely on relevancy. It always
exactly,
works. But yeah,
exactly.
that is the take on.
Yeah, I think the example also that you took is again creating what is like, if you can talk about something in common that still makes sense, right? But and put like to be able to put it out in this kind of a fashion that sounds a little humorous, right?
Yeah.
Simple plain things like I saw your post on so and so things. This is what I feel. I don't think those kind of, and when you go on Google and search about personalization for emails, these are the examples that you actually get.
Hmm. Maybe it
That's
worked
actually
few
where I
days
was coming
back.
from.
Maybe it works few years back, and
Yeah,
once it
I'm
went live,
sure. I'm
nothing
sure.
works.
Initially people might have started thinking that, okay, this is a great effort that is being put, so I should probably take this conversation forward. But again, uh, at any point of time, if you're not solving a problem that I'm facing, I'm not taking that call with you. I might appreciate the email, but
Yeah,
I'm not replying back.
yeah, definitely, definitely. People have already said, we've got replies. People saying, "Ishan, you there?"
Yeah, yeah, uh,
Yeah, I think you were stuck. Okay.
yeah,
We go. We have, people sometimes reply some personalization that's gone wrong. Like you'll get attention, but doesn't work. Like
yeah,
I got a response saying that this is about his. I think it was his basketball team. He was at the stadium. I think I'll check with. This was one of my teammates' email. It was in the basketball stadium. He went there. He posted a picture, and he mentioned on his Instagram. This happened on his Instagram. Saw it, and he dropped a message, email saying that, "Hey, I was there. I wish them I was there too," or something like, "Hey, really appreciate it, but we are using another vendor here. But thanks, but I'm not looking for any solution." So he's reply, but appreciate the email. So at least you got an
yeah,
appreciation. So
yeah, yeah,
it is not the personalization works, but Relevancy will always, let's say he is actually looking for a solution, then you reach out, then could have done. But personalization can two things. So in terms of replacing vendors, right? So this is the most difficult part. You already have a vendor they're using. Sometimes your personalization, you are able to break to the doors, right? Second is can I get the replacement of an existing vendor is so damn painful. So that is the most difficult part. How can you replace one? So if non-existing, you give a complementary solution on top of it, then try to replace vendor. For example,
so you were saying?
Yeah. So typically, so replacing an existing vendor is really hard, right? But you can try a different strategy from Nutanix founders, how they did it as well. Just throwing an example. So this was, I was at a conference, the Nutanix founder, they started a new company called DevRev. He was giving how they grew Nutanix. Nutanix, it's a very big company. They were like 10 billion or 1 billion is the revenue range. They're super big. They're public company and so big. So how they did earlier is they were they were what is the name of the company? VMware. So they were trying to give as a performance analytics tool, like an analytics tool on top of VMware systems. People who use VMware on their cloud, they were working as a plugin tool on top of it, and getting metrics out of it. That is what they did it. And with time, what they did is they send so many updates in the tool that does exactly what VMware already does. On top of it, they were giving insights. Okay, people who they got into so big adoption that they were using Nutanix on top of VMware. VMware also was selling, I think, I'm not sure. And Nutanix becomes so strong, and they had exactly a replica of VMware within Nutanix itself. So it doesn't make sense for people to use VMware. Just removed VMware from, and Nutanix become even bigger. So it's like so you cannot, especially the enterprise sales, right? So there is so much of friction replacing existing tool. Legally there is so many problems, and in the use case there's so many problems. But if you want to get into enterprise sales or mid-market bigger sales that has an existing tool, replacement, you just be on top of it, then replace it. Typical. And the company has done it. They do 10 billion ARR revenue company. So it's
that's right.
it's a learning to.
Absolutely. So this was interesting, all about Outbound, right? Now, as a founder, I am assuming, networking is important for you. And what I see on LinkedIn, you are building a personal brand as well, right? And obviously, it's going really well. What are your thoughts on it? Like, when was it always in the mind that this is important, or was it, after reaching or achieving a certain milestone with Salegear is when you decided, okay, now I need to, open up this path as well?
Oh, great question. So especially it comes with personal preference also. Talking about especially networking. I was so bad with networking. What we did is when I was an engineer, still engineer back, I was living in Coimbatore earlier. It's a tier 2 city. I was still the heads down on Monday, heads up on Friday. That's the kind of guy. So I as a startup, you hustle like a lot of hours every single day. You become single-minded. Actually, there's a problem as well. You have a limited exposure to people. Whatever you know, they know. Whatever they know, you know, and you become like almost one person. It's like marriage, right? Two boring people join together, become one boring person. So like that, we all become like one person together. I started feeling like we are all almost the same. I want a different. So you are always confined by the people around you, whom you talk to, what you think. So I thought, okay, why should I be limited with people I'm around? Let me expand the circle. What way to do is, okay, let's randomly go attend some events, right? Just meet some people. So what I realized is I went for one event. Then I found there's so much unique people. They have such inspiring stories. Each one has. talking to them. I got back the first week. So what I did is from Monday to Friday work, full focused. On Friday night, take a bus to Bangalore. I stay in friend's room. I said, go to some random events, tech events, or mostly tech events, because I was an engineer. I was going to learn something. That was the whole intention first time, not a networking. More than me learning anything on the event, talking with people gave me a lot of energy. And I came back, I was like super energy, and I was showing so much energy. People were asking, hey, I'm also with you. Why are you showing so much of energy? Where does this come from? Like, no, I talk about stories. I have like very interesting I met also, very inspiring. And all those I post on LinkedIn actually. That's how I started. Then I go back, and this kept happening continuously. When COVID hit, I was traveling to Bangalore every weekend. I want to attend an event because I can get exposed to some different people, and they know about their story, nothing else. So this kept me inspiring a lot. I used to do this back in 2015 as well, when I used to take cab very often. I had a backlog in Evernote. I have in my Evernote that every cab I go, a driver has a different story to. A cab driver has a different story to. I just kindle their emotion and just wait. Listen to the next 45 minutes of the story. And all those, go back, open my Evernote, write it down. Cab story 1, cab story 2. So this is what I was doing. And I was getting it was interesting. And this I did it after like 6-7 years. I did the same at the event. Then this was interesting. Went back. I was doing all this. And then COVID hit, was back at home. And then I was deciding, then I started the Salegear happened. They said, okay. And we had somebody do marketing as well. So I started taking the responsibility of marketing and all because I understood the industry really well. Okay, let's take over marketing. Then I said, I want to move to Bangalore because I cannot travel every week. If I can get so much of energy only on the weekend, how much energy will I get if I'm there everywhere? So that is the decision I made to move to Bangalore. And the events or everything, right? It's giving a lot of energy. It's up to individuals, I would say. But what it does is, to anybody without preference also, it teaches you a lot of things, right? The more people you meet, you realize there's a different angle. You see the same thing. It's like telling, right? A hero of a movie, right? It is defined by from whose side the story is being told. Right. If the story is being told from the villain, he becomes the hero. Right. So you see different views that you don't see normally. So that gives you a different perspective, and obviously that helps you Great connections is what lets you move needles in the business. If you ask on business front, so business front has led to partnerships. We are having a partnership discussion already. I have one more partner. It all happened with networking. So so you will not be, you're limited with number of people you know. So if you're not limited that, then your possibilities are many. So
absolutely. It's that exposure that comes along with meeting people, and of course that energy is something that I completely resonate with. I think when you meet with people and you talk to them, especially on events and meetups, it gives a different sense of energy. You're all hyped up till you actually go off to sleep. Yeah. I completely resonate with that. Okay, awesome. This has been great so far. There's something that I'm trying out for the first time in my podcast series. It's not been many, but I thought this could make an interesting end. So I'm going to have a small rapid fire with you, and of course, I'm sure you understand what rapid fire means. Give short answers, as short as possible. Majorly, these questions are around your, you as a person, not really as a founder. Much, right? Should I start?
Yeah, excited.
Is it your first rapid fire ever? It's my first taking a rapid fire for sure.
Yeah. First for you, for both.
All right. Okay. So, one book you recommend reading to anyone?
Yeah, this is my favorite book. My dad's favorite book. As a Man Thinketh. It was written in 1892.
Nice. All right. Would you what is your preferred stress buster? Walking every day or cycling every day, or one long vacation every year?
My stress buster is meeting new people.
Meeting new people. All right.
Gets me a lot of energy.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So basically, attending events as much as possible helps you relieve that stress.
Yeah, even maybe a chai wala, I sit and talk to him, let him tell his story. I'll just keep
Oh,
listening.
yeah, the cab stories, and there you are. Of course, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Lovely. That's a really, unique kind of quality that you have. Okay, all right. The next question: 10 million today, or you possessing your current knowledge when you were 18?
I think that is more valuable. That is more valuable. But still, there is, if you go to the past, you can do anything, right? I would have done much better. Outreach is $6.5 billion. If I've known much better, I've been even market leader, even acquired by Salesforce by now.
Right.
It will be good. Yeah, obviously.
Amazing, amazing. Two founders in the SaaS ecosystem that you generally hang out with.
I don't hang out with, but I look up to and learn a lot from them. I would do um, two of them. So I had this every year, but two of them is Nathan Latka.
Yeah.
Second one is Jason Lemkin, the father
Nice.
of SaaS.
Absolutely. Great, great guys. Great mentors to have. Last question. On an event, would you rather dress up in a t-shirt with a logo and just, use your energy talking to people, or you would, for an important event, you would go all out on your own appearance? Would you do that?
uh, Own appearance. Own appearance is just
Like
normal.
you change something on, like, what you're wearing is, out of the box, weird, something I did, like a
Oh yeah.
tab putting that.
So
Yeah.
that is a
Something like
learning
that,
I
or
took. That is
you
the learning I took from you and a few other folks as well. Like, okay, more, I should really be prepared for events like this. I just generally wear a t-shirt with the logo and go. Sometimes I go,
yeah.
I like, okay, it's not washed. Let me wear some other t-shirt and go. But this is something I have to really put. So it's like inbound. This is not outbound. If I wear my t-shirt, I'm going to doing outbound.
Yeah.
But if I wear a unique t-shirt and there's an inbound request, right? It's more easy conversion. Yeah, I would take inbound that way.
Awesome. That's all for this rapid fire. These were great answers, by the way. It tells you a lot about, helps us understand about you and a founder, how your, personal life also looks like. So thank you so much, Prem. It's been an, absolute pleasure having you on this podcast. Thank you so much for all the stories and all those great analogies that helped me understand at a very, very basic level what exactly the problems with Outbound are, and how Salegear is solving them, and the problems and challenges in general that exist, right? Thank you so much for taking out the time. It's been a pleasure.
It's a pleasure is mine. Looking forward to checking out all your videos. You've been doing great there. And even so, I was so happy that I made friends with one famous person that came to the event. It was you. You were super famous in the event. I was like, oh, I know this guy. That guy with the tablet is my friend now. So yeah, so happy
Thank you
and
so much.
yeah,
Thank you.
looking forward to having this podcast grow even further and our
Absolutely. Thank you
partnership
so much.
flourish even further.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prem.
Awesome, Mission. Let's catch up soon then.
Okay, bye bye.
Take care, man. Bye. Have a good one. Bye.